Right, I'm ready for the wheelbarrow, please.
Oh.
Yes, I wasn't expecting to be ready quite that soon, but it's like the kids' bedrooms. Once you get going, actually, you're soon at the floor. Where do you want me to put this as well? That's the one with the ants in.
I don't mind, whatever. Not in there, obviously.
No.
Trouble with this Wilco module tray. It's probably entirely my fault for leaving these in there for so long. But it's really difficult to get them out without damaging their roots. It's come out all right. Most of these have been multi-sown, so there's two in most of them. And some of them, of course, only one of the seeds actually survived. The ones I did last week sort of suffered a little bit, but actually they're not too bad. I'll look at them closely. So maybe it's not so bad after all. Probably planting these too close together as usual.
I'm finding some magnificent bindweed roots.
Because we're going to have we've had a number of cold nights. That's meant I've not been able to put my tomatoes out yet. It's down to 1 degree in our grow house at home. So I'm just putting this over since I've got it to give it a little help, give these onions a bit of help as they settle in.
Oh, that's a big one. I hope I'm off camera here. We go. Oh, idiot. I've come this way round and of course I've put stuff in the way on this side. I'll have to go under.
So this is the cottager's kale. God, look at the size of that. It's like a
Blimey.
small tree.
Yes.
It's gone to seed entirely now. And anyway, it wasn't very nice. It's not something we'll grow again.
Yep.
We'd have probably got more purple sprouting broccoli if we'd not grown that cottager's kale.
Yeah, well, we know next year, don't we? We know what we like now.
Yeah, but it's Brussels sprouts next year.
And purple sprouting.
And purple sprouting, yes.
Yeah.
It's Brussels sprouts rather than kale.
Okay.
That looks like a shallot rather than an onion.
Well, it is a shallot. Oh, you think shallot?
An actual shallot.
Not a banana shallot.
Well, yeah. Well, no, it is a banana shallot, but we don't, as I said, I don't know whether it's going to divide to make multiple.
I do not know.
Anyway, so that's slightly encouraging.
Yes. What I was just about to say was over there in front of the compost bins, I think that a barrier to stopping the bindweed crossing over to the potatoes and the flower bed is to get that path finished, to get that excess weed membrane that I've got rolled up there coming down in front of there, ready for the chip bark to go on. So
Yeah, but you've got to get, this needs to be done first, doesn't it?
yes, so I'll finish digging out that bed.
That'll take you until the weed membrane arrives.
That'll hopefully get that done next weekend. I don't think it's sensible to do any more digging today.
Sorry?
I don't think it's sensible to do any more digging today.
No. See, I can't see any blossom on the trees up the top there.
No.
Which suggests they were put in too late. Later than they should have been.
Yeah.
This could do with a second tie, actually.
Oh yeah, it's wobbling around now, isn't it?
So next time we...
Have you got any of those tree ties?
No. But they'll have them in wicks, I'd have thought.
They have got a little gardening section in there now.
Well, they've got all that sort of stuff around the back, haven't they?
They got a bit inside when I was looking for the latch thingy this morning. I saw it.
It's the 21st of April. This is my grow house. which is from Grow It, which I've been really pleased with. I like how thick this material is. It's plastic. I've been moving my tomatoes and dahlias in and out of here because we've had nighttime temperatures in very low single figures. On Friday night we got down to 1 degree in here. I've got a maximum minimum temperature thermometer there, but I've decided anyway, so I've got dahlias down here, got some brassicas and cucumbers there, and some flowers down the bottom, and my second planting of beetroot is doing really nicely in there. At the top here I've got the tomatoes. Now the tomatoes themselves are going to be grown in the Grow It premium tomato grow house at the top of the garden, and I've been umming and ahhing about when to get these out, and I've decided today is the day. I've got more than one of all of these, so if we have a real killer frost, then I won't have lost everything. And I think they get so much benefit from being in their big buckets of compost rather than in little compost in yogurt pots. So I'm going to risk it. I've had fleece on it. I had fleece on here last night, and I found that the fleece makes about 1.5 degrees of difference, but also positioning over there rather than down here also makes about 1.5 degrees of difference. So if I'm up there, then I think I can, and I put fleece on, that gives me 3 degrees to play with. And given that we're not going to be predicted to be below 0 at any point, I think I can risk it. So the three varieties that I'm going to plant are my favourite Sun Gold, and you'll see now why these need to go out. Although that's all right, but blimey, that's a bit ready. And so that's Sun Gold. I'm also going to be planting Allotment, which is, so the Sun Gold is an orange or yellow cherry. The Allotment is like a slightly smaller than average standard tomato. And then this year, the first time, I'm going to be growing Garnet. This one's a little bit weedy, but I'm going to go for it. So let's get these in. So this is the tomato grow house, which I'm impressed with so far. We shall see, won't we? Now all the photos suggest you can get 3 in here, but there are only 2 holes in the top, which I presume are there for, I mean, they might be there for ventilation. It only just occurred to me. I'm actually using them. I think they're supposed to be there for passing canes through. And the idea is this is exactly the width of a standard size grow bag. And in fact, a grow bag tray fits in the bottom there. I don't think the pegs are needed, are they? So I prefer to grow in buckets than grow bags. I think that Oh, whatever. I mean, it gives greater depth for the roots. I think that there's more actual compost there. This is silver grow I've used for each of these. I'm just going to add a little bit of chicken manure into there, just to give it a bit of extra oomph from the get-go. It's probably not strictly necessary. But I'm just going to put them in at the top. And as I water them, the nutrients should find their way to the bottom. The grow house at the bottom is going to be used for, obviously, for starting plants off, but as the year goes round, that becomes less of an issue. And so what I'm aiming to do is use that as to grow the cucumbers. I'm going to put the Alicante in the middle because that's the biggest, produces the biggest fruits, and the two cherry varieties on either side. So here we go. Sun god on the left, I think. I'm going to plant these as deep as I can. Glad I didn't. Whoops. And so I'm glad I didn't quite fill them up. Oh, very nearly did, didn't I? Here we go, the first tomato of the year. Yeah, that's not bad. It wasn't too root bound, but it was ready. It was ready to be moved on. Actually, I'm not going to need to tie that on, am I, just yet? That's the first one. Take that bottom leaf off. So yesterday we did, as you saw, some more work on the allotment. It does sort of feel sometimes as though there should be more as when the sun's shining. It feels like there ought to be something growing you should be able to, apart from weeds. But it is only the 21st of April. So I'm a little bit early with, arguably early with the tomatoes. We shall see whether it pays off, because getting them in at this sort of time, as long as we don't have any frosts, or hard frosts at least, means we'll be getting fruit earlier. And finally, garnet. This is the one I have not tried before. So we've had some germination on the carrots. Maybe all right. Oddly enough, it all seems to get a lot of germination in a small area, and then nothing either side of it. But I guess That's because the conditions were perfect in that area and not elsewhere. So far, the Manchester table carrot seems to be germinating better. That garlic looks a bit healthier than I thought it did. I've done a little bit better this year because last year I planted 2 weeks earlier. I sowed the seeds at the beginning of February, and it meant that I was nursing the plants through for a much longer period, whereas these are ready now. They're a little bit they could have done with coming out or being put in the buckets 2 weeks ago, but they're not ridiculous this time, so that's good. Tomatoes are ready. Hopefully these 3 will survive and we'll have lots of tomatoes in the summer. Okay, I'm going to repot some of my cucumbers. As you can see, they've come up rather nicely, but they're getting too big for those modules now. Yesterday I mixed up a potting mix, which I'm mainly going to use for seed compost, but I thought since I'd made quite a bit, I'd use it for potting as well today. And this is about 3 parts of sieved silver grow to 1 part of horticultural sand, so it makes what should be a nice free draining mixture. So I thought I'd give it a try in here. So I've got all 7 have come up, so 100% germination on the cucumbers. This is the variety called Delhi Star, which is a almost transparent skinned all female cucumber. It's an F1 hybrid, but we had really fantastic results with it last year. It produced a huge amount of cucumber, which was fantastic. So we're going to try and produce even more. Last year we bought the plants from a couple of plants from our local garden centre, and this time I've got the seeds. Save a few quid. Look at that, doesn't that look great? If we had a warmer spring, I might not have needed this intermediate step, but there we go. It's too much to ask. I'm really pleased with how they've with those seedlings. Let's hope they like the new mix they're put into. Otherwise it'll be back down to the garden centre for plants. There we go. What I'll do is I'll probably just cut this last row off, because then this will fit nicely on a warm shelf. So that's that done. The only other thing that's urgent, or relatively urgent, I've got my purple sprouting broccoli here and my Brussels sprouts, and all of these look to me like they need potting up as well. As you can see, my room for potting up is minimal at the moment. That's because we've shifted the conservatory into sort of summer configuration, which it leaves no room for potting up, because I would have hoped to be able to pot up outside by now, but there we go. So purple sprouting broccoli first. We're just eating the purple sprouting broccoli that was sown last year. So that was a success. Would have been even more of a success if I hadn't bothered with the cottager's kale and left more room for the plants to spread out a bit. And also, if I'd remembered or thought about to protect them from pigeons or other birds, because they got massacred. And next year I'd like some Brussels as well. That's the other brassica that I enjoy. Over there you'll see fairly poor results from my attempt to sow parsnips indoors. I think I'm probably going to have to go for the damp kitchen roll approach to germination. Nothing else seems to work for me. There we go. So we've got 3 Brussels and 5, I think, purple sprouting broccoli. So it's the end of April. And as always seems to happen, we get to this point in the year and wonder where it's all gone already. I've got quite a few things out in the grow house, and I've got the tomatoes out in their tomato grow house. But it feels like there ought to be a hell of a lot more. I've got a lot of small plants that aren't ready to go out yet, and not much in the way of, well, nothing in the way of bigger plants that are ready to go. But anyway, part of that's to do with the weather, of course, which has been ordinary to say the least. So now that the risk of frost has more or less passed here, I'm going to get my beans, my runner beans, French beans, started off, so that they will be able to go out in about a month's time, hopefully. And so I've got three modules of 9 trays, 9 cells each, and I'm going to put 2 in each cell, which may be a mistake, but they're not going to be in there very long. And the plan is that for those that are going to be grown up teepees, I'm going to be putting 2 plants per teepee leg anyway. So that seems like a reasonable approach to me. I may live to regret this. But anyway, what the hell. So the first variety from Real Seeds is Lazy Housewife, which is no commentary on Peta whatsoever. I would not dare. She works very hard. You really do. You work very hard, sweetheart. And I'm very good at being patronising old git. So I'm putting 2 in each corner of the module tray. And these are going to go straight out in the large grow house. No need for these to stay inside, I don't think. Incidentally, I've begun an experiment. It's too late to plant peppers, but my first major failure of the year is the peppers that I planted in January. That was too early. It just wasn't worth the effort. I've only got one that might turn into a decent pepper plant, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Oh, there it is. That's the best one. It is now the end of April, and that was planted in January, and that is by far the best of them. Now compare that with the ones I bought from the garden centre. Which look like that. Did not make me happy. So my theory is it's to do with the drainage of the compost that they were grown in. I just grew them in silver grow, but I've made a batch of silver grow that I've mixed with horticultural sand in the hope that that will increase the drainage and make them happier plants. So I had no problem with the germination, but they just didn't crack on at all. So that's the lazy housewife. So anyway, the point is I've sown 4 into 4 of the sweet peppers that I tried to grow earlier in the year into modules with that compost in, the new compost, and I've put them in plastic bags on a heated propagator to give them every chance. And what I'm really looking is not really expecting to, unless we have an extraordinary summer, which is at the moment, if it's going to be an extraordinary summer, it's probably the wrong kind of extraordinary. I just want to see that they produce robust plants so that next year I know how to go about it. So we shall see about that anyway. That's just an experiment. So the second one is called Abundance Climbing French Bean. So the lazy housewife produces rich and buttery stringless beans. Sounds great. Abundance is famed for its abundance. Yeah. So you can dry these beans, but we won't do that. We'll just use them. Well, I imagine we'll use them either fresh or frozen. I think I can get away with putting 2 per module because these are quite big modules. So far I've had pretty good results with the real seeds. It's just the courgettes. I've got some courgettes, and only half of those have germinated. When in the same conditions as a standard, F1 hybrid pumpkins, all of which have germinated. As it happens, the 3 that have germinated will probably be enough. So that's Abundance. And the last one is called the Tsar runner bean. So those two are French beans and this is a runner bean. But it's a butter bean type, it says. So you can either have these as standard runner beans. Oh yeah, these are. Oh, these are quite substantial, aren't they? I'm going to put one of each in these. These are too big to go in. Two per module. These are the ones that I would imagine that we'll probably grow these over the arch. I'm really quite surprised at how different they are in size to the French beans. So it's been a fairly rubbish April. The best thing that can be said about April is that March was worse. And the best thing to be said about March was that February was worse than February. So we are on an improving track. But blimey, it'd be nice just to have some consistent, dry, warm weather, wouldn't it? So those are all done now. So I've got 18 of each of the French bean plants, hopefully if they all come up, and 9 runner bean plants. We've only got a fairly small growing area up at the allotment, and it's a waste of time, I think, to grow ones you're not going to take to completion. But there we go. We'll see you in May.